Welcome back, everyone, to our commentary series on the writings of Ajmal.
Oh, yeah.
From his website, theborderofamind.com. If you haven't listened to our previous episodes, Ajmal really delves into some really thought-provoking topics and asks some really interesting questions. And this episode is no different.
Right.
This time, we're going to be taking a look at his blog post, The Nature of Perception.
Oh, okay.
And in this one, Ajmal really challenges us to question how we perceive reality and how our senses and the way we interpret information can sometimes lead us astray. So it should be a really good one.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, what did you think about the post?
Well, I mean, it's a real head scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah.
He starts off by talking about how our perception of reality is like constructed by our minds, right? Like based on what we take in through our senses and the frameworks we've learned. But then he's like, hold on though. Those things can be flawed. Like what we think is true might not actually be the whole story. And he uses some pretty wild examples to make his point.
Yeah, like right away.
Yeah.
He jumps into the example of time.
Yes, time.
Which is something I think we all just take for granted.
You would think, right.
That it just moves forward at a constant pace.
Yeah, tick-tock, tick-tock.
But he brings in Einstein's theory of relativity.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of show how maybe it's not that simple.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Because suddenly we're talking about how time is relative, you know? So that's this absolute thing. It depends on your frame of reference.
Yeah.
Like he gives this example of being on a speeding train.
Right.
If you're on that train, time feels normal to you. But to someone watching you zoom by from the platform, time on that train is actually moving slower.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And Einstein actually proved this. Time is literally relative to our position and our speed compared to other objects.
So you're telling me that two people could experience a different amount of time passing between the same two events.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Simply because they're moving.
Yeah.
At different speeds.
Yep. Different speeds, different times.
That's incredible.
And it's not just some theoretical idea either. Like, it has real-world implications.
So what does that mean for us then?
Well, for one thing, it means that our gut feeling about time, that intuitive sense that it's just this steady march forward, well, it might not be the whole picture.
Yeah, and that's Ajmal's point, right? If something as fundamental as time can be so flexible, what else might we be misinterpreting?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, he also brings up matter.
Oh, yeah, matter.
And I think, again, we just think of matter as this...
As solid, right?
Solid, yeah.
Tangible.
Tangible, predictable.
Right, like you know what to expect from it.
But Ajmal dives into quantum mechanics.
Oh boy, here we go.
To kind of show that might not be the case either.
Because down at the subatomic level, things get really weird. Like he brings up superposition. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it, yeah.
It's this wild concept that says particles don't actually have fixed properties until they're observed.
What does that even mean?
Okay, so think of it like flipping a coin.
Yeah.
That coin is spinning in the air. It's both heads and tails at the same time, right?
Yeah.
It's only when it lands that it becomes one or the other. Superposition is kind of like that. Particles exist in this blurry state of multiple possibilities until someone or something observes them.
So they're not really solid until we look at them.
It's more like they choose a state when we measure them.
So then is our observation creating reality?
That's a huge question, right?
Yeah.
And it's one that Ajmal really grapples with in this post. He points out that if we only know matter, through how it affects us as observers, it makes you wonder about the nature of reality itself.
Yeah, like what is it actually like when we're not looking?
Right. It's a mind bender for sure.
And then on top of time and matter, he brings up space.
Yeah, we can't forget about space.
I mean, space, it just seems like this...
It seems so simple.
Right, like this three-dimensional grid.
Yeah, just empty space.
It's just there.
Just there, yep.
But according to Einstein...
Here comes Einstein again.
Space and time are actually intertwined. And they form what's called space-time.
Space-time, yeah, it's a wild concept.
Okay, so help me understand this.
Okay, imagine a trampoline.
Okay.
If you put a bowling ball on it, it's gonna make a dip, right?
Right.
Well, massive objects do the same thing to space-time. They warp it, they make it curve.
So space isn't flat?
Not at all, and that curvature, that's what we experience as gravity.
Oh wow, so gravity is just warped space.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so then space isn't just empty and static.
Nope, it's this dynamic field that's constantly being shaped. by all the matter and energy in the universe.
So our everyday understanding of reality, where time is ticking away, and objects are solid, and space is just this fixed backdrop. Maybe that's totally wrong.
Yeah, Ajmal's argument is pretty unsettling, right?
It is unsettling.
But it's also kind of exciting, because
yeah.
it opens up all these possibilities.
So he's not saying that our senses are useless.
No, well, not all.
Or that reality is an illusion. But it's making us consider that.
Yeah.
The world we perceive might just be one interpretation.
One way of looking at things.
Yeah, one layer of a much more complex reality.
Exactly, and that leads him to this central question. Could our entire concept of an objective reality be wrong?
Whoa. What if the world around us is just a framework within consciousness itself?
Yeah, like what if it's all happening inside a larger mind?
Wow, that's a really interesting idea.
Ajmal explores this concept in the post, and he even suggests that it aligns with the idea of a creator, a consciousness that encompasses everything.
So if our perceptions shape our reality, does that mean that we have more control over our experiences than we think?
That's a great question.
Yeah. What does that mean for our place in the universe?
These are big questions, right?
Yeah.
And Ajmal doesn't offer easy answers, but he gives us a new way to think about them.
Yeah. So if you're intrigued by any of this, go check out Ajmal's blog post, The Nature of Perception, on his website, theborderofamind.com.
Yeah, it's worth a read for sure.
It is. And stay tuned.
Okay.
Because we'll be back with more of Ajmal's insightful writing in future episodes.
Looking forward to it.